So last time we talked about a good movie, we talked about Iron Man. We won't be talking about a really good movie today. We're talking about The Hulk. I'm just gonna level you. This movie's boring as shit. Um, get ready for a much shorter and likely a way less focused review because I don't care. This movie's boring. So basically the plot is that you got Bruce Banner, who's played by Edward Norton from Fight Club, and that's a good movie. And every time I looked at him, I just wished I could be watching Fight Club instead. So he's Bruce Banner, and he's like in hiding, right? Because he's like the Hulk, and he doesn't want to like get angry and destroy humanity or whatever. So he's living in hiding. I think he's in like Brazil, but don't. And he speaks like Portuguese. That's what like the subtitles showed and all that. So I'm guessing it's like Brazil or whatever. I'm not good with languages, and like you rarely cover South America in like the UK school system. You barely touch it. And I also just fucking hated geography, but shush. So yeah, there's so he's in hiding in Brazil, and like the military's after him because his life is like a military secret, pretty much. So he's in Brazil, and he's making a life for himself, and he's on his like laptop talking to Mr. Blue, and it's really fucking funny because it's just like it is like the most studio executive asking for like a hacking kind of thing. Like some guy who probably doesn't even know how to open like Word without like help. And it's like, oh, I make it so he's in an encrypted chat. That's like a word that people say, right? Make it so when he is chatting in the encryption, he always uses perfect punctuation. Like that's something really small, but it's just really funny that he's using like perfect punctuation. Have you ever seen half these people on like these like sites, like encrypted sites? They use these kind of like they use like lead speak and shit. Even then, I don't fucking know because like I don't think those things exist. At least you can just download. I'm pretty sure you need to get like a shit ton of stuff for that. I don't know. Fake tech in movies is just really funny to me. So yeah, he's talking to Mr. Blue, and he's Mr. Green. It's just German. It's fucking. How did I not make a single German joke the entire time I was watching that? It's Mr. Green. If German basically did a joke about Mr. Green, who's just this really, really obese gambler, and it was just really fucking funny. And then that's just all I can imagine, just Edward Norton playing Mr. Green in another movie. So yeah, and then the military's after him, including this like new dude called like Emil Broflovsky or something like that. No, that's the name of Kyle from South Park. It's Blonsky. Broflovsky's the name of fucking Kyle from South Park. His last name, Christ. So yeah, Blonsky. He's played by Tim Roth, and I just want to mention something really weird about this movie. It has a shit ton of like actually talented actors. Like it has Edward Norton, from Fight Club. Tim Roth, I've never seen anything else he's in. Liz Taylor, I've never seen anything else she's in. I don't watch a lot of like good movies, but I can tell these three have talent even in the movie. It just doesn't show. It's really fucking bizarre. I don't know if it was like a shitty director. I don't know who directed this movie, by the way. So yeah, we can't get our pitchforks and raise it in. But like maybe it was like a bad director. Maybe it was like a bad script, which I'm pretty sure this movie has anyways. But like none of these guys really feel like they're like doing good in this movie. But I can tell that they're like, I don't know if it's trying, but like they're just inner talent is still just kind of there. Their inherent just skill at acting, but it isn't actually like doing anything in that. It is a very weird movie. I just gotta be real. It's like a boring movie, and it's weird that it feels so boring. Because the thing about this movie is that when I'm watching it, I can tell plot points are happening. I can tell the plot is moving forward. I can see that, but it never fucking feels like it. This movie doesn't feel like anything is happening. It's so fucking bizarre. One thing about this movie that I thought was just really, like, so one thing about the movie that I thought was cool, it's how in the first scene you see Hulk, they don't show like the Hulk at all until like the very end of the first scene. It's just these military guys and these like free gang dudes or whatever just getting massacred. It's actually pretty cool the way they like don't show the Hulk. Speaking of the Hulk, he actually looks pretty good in this movie. I'm not gonna lie. he kind of has a bit of like. There's like one scene where he's in like the rain with Liz Taylor character we can't even remember the name of, and like it does look a little bit shitty there. But for the most part, it looks really good. So yeah, basically Hulk massacres these dudes pretty much. Then he goes into hiding into like Guatemala or some shit for like a couple days, then goes over to America because that's where like the accident happened. And Blonsky is just like, "I'm gonna get me some of that." And then he like injects himself with like some special soldier serum. And by the way, that's our first reference to an upcoming movie, I believe. They mentioned that in World War II they did make a super soldier serum. So I believe that's the first time they ever foreshadowed an upcoming movie in the MCU. They foreshadowed Captain America, which that is one of the movies I've actually seen before. So I'm actually interested in that one. That is a movie I actually saw. That was one of the first ones I actually saw. So I'm interested. Maybe that one still holds up. I don't know if it will or not, because Phase 1 movies have been... They've literally been 50-50 so far, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's like a hidden gem, and I'm gonna really appreciate it. But you notice I'm kind of all over the place because this movie's just really dull. So yeah, he goes to America, and that's where he meets Liz Taylor's character, and then he just comes to the Hulk again and fights the military, and it's kind of boring. Like it's weird. Like, no, it's meant to be exciting. It just doesn't have that kind of like, yeah factor. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, he's fighting the military now. And Blonsky's there. And he like throws Blonsky into a tree, which I think that's one of the first MCU-isms I've seen, where he's just like, is that all you got? Boom! Over the side into a tree. Like, it does feel a little bit like funny MCU. What else is there in this movie? Well, first of all, the rest of the plot. Also, yeah, Stan Lee has he has a cameo in the first movie in Iron Man, where he's like Hugh Hefner, but I think he just gets like mistaken for him or something like that. I don't know. It's like a blink and you'll miss it thing, pretty much. This movie here actually is like there. He's a plot point in this movie. He's like because like Bruce Banner in Brazil, he works at like a soda factory, and he has this soda which is just like tangy green, and I can't lie, it looks really nice, but also fucking sickening. And like Stanley drinks it, he's like, oh, and he like drops it, and like, did Stanley die? I don't like thinking about that. I mean, I love Stanley. I think everyone did. He was awesome. And then it's just, he died because he drank Hulk juice. Pretty much what it is. It's like gamma infused blood. So yeah, Stanley is just dead. That version of Stanley is dead. He appears in the next movie, I'm guessing. So yeah, so the Hulk, he fights like Blonsky and the rest of the military, but then they see that Hulk is actually human, because he like guards Liz Taylor, and then they run off to like the mountains, and then that's just a thing that happens. And then it turns out that Hulk isn't just an angry rage machine, and Liz Taylor is actually able to calm him down slightly. I was really invested in that plot point. Look, this movie is just really dull, okay? I just want to get over with so we can go to... It's not even a good movie. We have Iron Man 2 next. Iron Man 2, that's not a fun movie from what I've heard. That movie's shit, but... It's probably going to be better than this one. I don't think we're going to reach the lows of this movie for quite a time. So then, that's like halfway through the movie, and the other half is just kind of like they Liz and Edward Norton. I'm just gonna call them fucking characters, then actors at this point. They're like on the run, or something, and they plan to go on the run, but then they just like no, I'm trying to remember. Like, I literally watched this movie last night. I took notes on this movie and everything, and I still can't remember half of this bullshit. I stopped taking notes in the second half because it's just so fucking dull. There's like the one scene I remember, and that's when they're like in a car, and then the police are there, and then like fucking Bruce Banner's like, "Hey, we gotta take off," and then they run out. There's really not much I can say about this movie. It's really fucking... There's one scene where they're in like a taxi, and the taxi driver's like really aggressive. There was one scene I remember that's really funny, and that's where Edward Norton and Liz Taylor are about to have sex because they've seen each other for the first time in like a... How long is it? This is one of the main issues of this movie, right? it feels like it's missing the first like half hour or whatever. Like, because the movie is like, it gives you this little opening montage showing you kind of like what happened at the day of like the Hulkening. I'm gonna call it, that's the event, the Hulkening. The issue is I don't give a shit about these characters because I wasn't introduced to them at all. Like, it literally feels like, I think the reason this movie's like this is because Ang Lee made a Hulk movie in 2003. And from what I've heard, that movie is fucking garbage. I haven't watched it, but I've heard it's really bad. But that was like the origin story stuff, and they didn't want to just retread that stuff. The MCU is very like, yeah, you know about this shit by now. We'll just get to the part you care about. I know they do that in Spider-Man: Homecoming. They don't mention Uncle Ben because we will know Uncle Ben at this point. You just know that, and they kind of do that with the MCU. They kind of do that with the Hulk movie, but the problem is it means I don't give a shit about any of these characters. I feel like I'm missing like the introductions to these characters. Like, this feels like I started watching, like, I don't know, what's like a popular like drama series or whatever. This feels like I started watching The Good Doctor. I don't know, that was the first one that came into mind. It feels like I'm watching The Good Doctor and I like just missed the first season and like the first episode of the second season. So now I'm just here with a bunch of characters who I know. I just don't really know about them. I just know that they're characters and they exist in this world. So yeah, it's very rough. Cause it's just like, okay, now this is that, and then the general guy. I haven't mentioned the general guy, by the way. So the general guy, I think his name's Thunderbolt Ross, which is really funny. He's like Liz Taylor's father, and he's just the military guy for this movie. He's just like, I'm gonna be a military. Daughter, what are you doing with Hulk Man? That's not even remotely. He didn't sound like Hercule. He doesn't sound like Hercule, but I'm gonna make him sound like Hercule because that's just really funny. He's just the military guy. He's like he's sort of the main villain, but it's also kind of Bronsky, not Broflovsky, Bronsky. But even that, I don't give a shit about Bronsky. Like, he's one of the more interesting parts of the movie. But even then, he still kind of sucks. So yeah, also the scene I was going to mention is where they're about to have sex, but then his heart rate is over like almost at 200 beats per minute, and that's like the Hulkening. That's when he hulks out and hulks everywhere. So he's like, no, we can't do this. We can't do this. But if this is just a little PSC, by the way, guys. If your heart rate is reaching 200 beats per minute during sex, you are incredibly, incredibly unhealthy. So, Bruce Banner definitely needs to work on, like, just everything. I mean, to be fair, he has gamma in his blood. He's probably not doing the best anyways, but phooey. Who cares? So, yeah, after, like, they plan to, like, leave or whatever, they meet up with Mr. Blue. And I've written my notes for this. This is just me with my Discord friends meet, which isn't even, like, clever or funny. It wasn't even, like, a funny scene. It was... I'm trying to make humor out of this movie, but you can't, because this movie's so fucking dull. So yeah, he meets with Mr. Blue. Mr. Blue is just a fucking freak, for lack of a better word. He's just weird. He's basically been trying to help Bruce Banner, with, like, the cure to the blood or whatever, but he's also just a fucking weirdo. And, basically, he's mass-produced Bruce Banner's blood for some reason, and they, like, have this scene, which really does have really good CGI, where he's on, like, the table, and they inject him with the Hulk blood, and then he hulks out, and then they give him this, like, supposed antidote, and it actually works. So, yeah, that was a pretty cool scene, and then they find out that Edward Norton's here, and then they start, like, charging the building, and then Bronsky's like, he gets in there, and then he just, like, and then he like punches out Liz Taylor, and then he punches out Edward Norton. So those two are both like in captivity. Then he goes up to Mr. Blue. I don't think he's actually named. I think he's just called Mr. Blue. That's like the name he's known as, because they never actually give his real name. He also punches him as well. He punches a lot of people. They didn't point that out in the movie. Mr. Blue's like, "Why are you always punching people?" And it was mildly funny. It was mainly the delivery that made it funny. But yeah, basically, he's like, give me some of that shit, because he's already been injected previously. He's like already kind of super soldier-like, but he's like, oh, I need more. And then the guy's like, hey, be careful. With what's in you already, you might become an abomination. Then he gets to like fucking like, He gets like at the end of Evangelion, like Asuka Shinji fucking strike away. That's not even what happens. I just want to make the Evangelion reference. You notice I'm referencing other media a lot because I just want to think about other things in this movie. So yeah, he like choke lifts fucking Mr. Blue. Then Mr. Blue gives him the thing, and he becomes the Abomination. Then he like smacks Mr. Blue to the table. He gets like a bunch of Hulk blood and like a cut on his forehead. And his forehead all palpitates. I don't know what that was about, and to my knowledge, I don't think that's ever actually been paid off, and I don't see it really being paid off because like Hulk isn't even like a thing anymore. It's like the Professor Hulk bullshit. Also, like, no one cares about Hulk, for lack of a better word. This is his only solo movie in the MCU, and to be fair, I think a part of it is because, like, Universal technically owns the rights to Hulk. So if they want... So instead of making a solo Hulk movie, they'll just make a movie that has Hulk in it. That's why, like, Thor Ragnarok, another one I've seen, has Hulk in it a lot, because that's basically just their excuse to get him on his own solo movie. So, yeah, basically, you have... Like, so you have the Abomination, who looks like he looks really good, but he also looks like shit. I think his design is really cool. I love the way his, like, elbows and, like, his knees protrude from the back. That was a really, like, kind of gross, really cool detail. And the CGI is good, but it also looks very dated. Like, there are times when it's like, oh yeah, this is, like, 2000... This is, like, late 2000 CG, but still 2000 CG. And then they're in, like, the plane, and then they see, like, the Hulk's in the street, and, like, Thunderbolt Ross is like, the Hulk, we have the Hulk, what are we doing now? And then he looks at, like, the camera screen, he's like, Marco, let's know if he looks at the Hulk. And then, like, Edward Norton's just like, hey, I'm gonna go out there. And then Liz Taylor's like, no, you can't. And he just, like, he kisses her. That's my mum. Yeah, so, like, he kisses her. And then he jumps out of the plane, and there's a scene that was mildly funny where he's like, oh shit, as he falls, because like, you think it's going to be like the cool, like, oh, he transforms in midair, and like there's a cool superhero line, but no, he just falls into the fucking pavement. I do think that was actually kind of funny. And there's a big CGI clusterfuck fight. I don't really care. But at this point, I think most people just checked out of the movie. Like, this is the climax. It's probably the part where it's just, like, glazed over the most. I think I put a note down where it's just, like... It's like something to do with like him punching like the things because he has like two police cars. He has like a police car. He rips it off and starts punching with it. And I think I just said something like this would be really cool in another movie because yeah, it is just kind of at this point. Also, like the Abomination crashes the helicopter. The rest of them are in, and they all survive. Helicopter crashes are usually really, really fatal. But no, Thunderbolt Ross is just like, no, I don't want to die. I don't want anyone in this job to die. I will not let them die, and then they just don't die. I was just looking for an excuse to do the Hercule. It's very fun to do the Hercule voice. So then the Hulk just fucks off at the end of the movie, pretty much. And, like, there's two last scenes of the movie. I don't know if there's anything to back this up, but I feel like the last scene of the movie was the post-credit scene. But they realized no one cared enough to watch the post-credit scene. So basically, it's... And the real last scene in the movie is where it's like... He's like sitting down in a room and he's able to like force himself to transform into the Hulk. And he has a little smirk on his face. That's cool because that will never be paid off because Edward Norton never came back. The reason for that is apparently he's a giant arsehole to work with, from what I've heard. Basically, no one likes to work with him because all he ever does is just make things go. He's a complete diva, basically. So, yeah, people don't like working with him, so they kind of just say, fuck it, we don't want you. And, like, the real, like, kind of, like last scene, which is, again, the most like, meant to be the post-credit scene, it has, like... My mum came upstairs, and I really hope none of what she said appeared. Not because she said anything bad, I just don't want it in the video. So, yeah, the real last final scene of the movie, it's where, basically, Thunderbolt Ross is in, like, a bar, and then you got Tony Stark in. He just says some shit like they're forming a team, and it's very clear meant to be like the, my goyim, and that's just, like, kind of what it's meant to be. So, yeah, overall... What do I think of the first Iron Man? The only Hulk movie? I'm only ever gonna watch this one if I rewatch the whole MCU, and I really fucking doubt I'm gonna do it. That movie sucks. I'm really sorry to any Hulk fans out there. I'm not hulking out right now. I'm just glazing over, looking at my watch, looking at my friend, whatever the fuck. This movie's so shit. Um, Next time, Iron Man 2. I don't really know the thing. I'm cautiously optimistic. The first one was good. This one was released like a year or two later. Can't be that much fucking worse. So yeah, see you around.